It's the last time we'll see one of our guests, Phil Taylor, playing on TV in a world championship. How will he fare in his final trip to the tavern?
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what Phil Taylor is going to turn up for this last World Championship in his career. And as I say, we spoke about the draw last week, and in Manfred, Bill Dell, the German, yes, there's probably harder draws, there's probably easier draws, and in some ways he is a surprise package because he's not been in this environment many times before. But what he does have an advantage over Phil Taylor is that he is going to be more battle tested, more match sharp. We don't see Phil playing in any other competitive darts, just exhibitions, practicing at home or with someone else, wherever that might be, but it doesn't quite replicate the same adrenaline, that same buzz that you're going to get playing in that competitive setting. So with these World Seniors events, playing against Phil Taylor, we've seen that for some of his opponents, they have found it a challenge playing the name Phil Taylor, and some of them, they've looked good in the rounds before playing Phil, but then not produced that same level, which would have probably in all likelihood been enough to progress. So that's the big question mark for me in plotting Phil's possible route through this tournament, is how are his opponents going to manage that occasion? Because I think we know what we're going to get with Phil Taylor. I don't think we're going to see him turn up and throw 95, 100 averages, play like he did back in his heyday. I think we are going to see a similar level to what we've seen before. So I think it does come down to what his opponents are going to produce on that stage. How is Manfred going to deal with playing Phil Taylor on that Circus Tavern stage? And I think his name does still carry a lot of clout, and just the chance to go toe-to-toe with the GOAT is a moment in itself. And we saw it last year with Richie House, and what a moment for him, beating Phil in the quarterfinals in his home venue with all his friends and family there. That is going to be a factor for me. And if Phil can get past that first round, Darryl Fitton or Chris Mason, two players that are more active than Phil Taylor, but I wouldn't say by an awful lot more. So if I had to make a prediction, I think that Phil Taylor's last trip to the tavern, he is going to make the Sunday, he's going to make the quarterfinals, but that is where he's going to come unstuck. And the likely opponent, probably going to be Scott Mitchell when you look at that list of potential quarterfinal opponents, but I wouldn't make Scott a huge favourite. I think Lisa Ashton is in there as well. She had one of the games of the tournament 12 months ago with Neil Duff in the first round, and her form's been a bit up and down since then. She's had some time away after an operation, but on her day, she could rattle off 2 wins and make that Sunday. And what a clash that would be to watch on a Sunday afternoon, Phil Taylor and Lisa Ashton. So, yeah, I can't quite picture this being a fairy tale last hurrah for Phil Taylor like the World Match Play was, but I do think he's going to at least pick up 1 or 2 wins and be there for the final day at least.
Yeah, you said exactly what I was going to say, other than I'm not as high on Lisa Ashton right now. I mean, there's no guarantee Phil Taylor wins that first round, but he is going to be the favorite. And what we've seen from Phil over the last few years on the senior tour in these majors is, generally speaking, he's good for somewhere in the low to mid 80s averages. But he's had a few that he's done better. He's had a few that he's done worse. And it depends what Phil Taylor shows up. But if he's playing in the 80s, most of these players you'd expect that he would get past, but not all. And as the tournament progresses, it's going to be less and less likely that he'll be playing somewhere where an 84, 85 is going to be good enough, especially when there are a few players here that I think should be averaging in the 90s in most of their matches. Darryl Fitton and Chris Mason, both of them, like you said, have been only semi-active on the senior tour. They'll have the opportunity if they play Phil Taylor to win, but I think I just don't think they're going to. So that then comes, like you said, down to the quarterfinal round. And Lisa Ashton, she's regressed over the last couple of years since dropping off the PDC tour significantly. There have been some moments, especially near the end of last year, where there were signs that she was moving in the right direction. She was starting to get some decent results in the women's series over in the PDC. But by and large, she's not looked the same player. She's looked like maybe the 7th or 8th best women's player in the world, not the 2nd or 3rd best like she had been for so long, or best as she had been, for a while as well. It wasn't an accident that she won 4 world titles and a tour card. But she's nowhere near that right now. She's a mid-70s player more often than not right now, and I don't think that beats Mike Huntley. Scott Mitchell is absolutely live to win this tournament. Matt Clark is a dangerous first-round match. I could absolutely see Superman getting the better of Scott Mitchell in that first round, but I think Scott Mitchell will get through it, and I think he ends Phil Taylor's world championship career on Sunday afternoon in the quarterfinal.